Yeah. So yeah, it's really wild, man. Like when this is all you know, then you really don't know that you in a matrix and shit, man. Just like animals when you create like a false environment for them to live inside of an aquarium or some shit. That's wild, ain't it? Like when you got a fish in a fish bowl, that's all it know. So it don't realize where is it at and what time it is. And humans don't know the same thing going on with us. I ain't gonna really get too deep, man. I'm gonna just keep it basic on this. So look, check this out, man. I know people got their little theories and shit on when it comes to like if this really is or if this really ain't. But you gotta question the technology every time. Every time you gotta question that shit, cause it's like it's scheduled to come out at certain times. It came out over a course of decades, centuries, at a certain pace. That alone right there is the receipt, man. Like when everybody's participating in creating the reality, then you see different amounts of technology. You ain't just gonna see the iPhone this come out like this year, then next year the iPhone that come out. Hell, the whole thing that comes together when it come to like consuming shit, that wouldn't even play a factor in reality, man. Like straight up. Motherfuckers wouldn't even be buying shit, yo. Period. Cause they had their own, right? Protecting yourself. People have different levels of that. See, the only thing that you see that everybody is participating in is motherfucking art. That's the only time you get to see everybody's expression of something participating inside of society. It's art. You see it in fashion. You see it in clothing. The different little things, we could put it on. But when it comes to the major things in society, man, we is not participating in that shit. We only a victim of it. That's why I be making them environmental videos and shit, man, so you can see for yourself. Like, this shit is a series of dimensions and shit. Like, straight up. It's a series of dimensions. Like, when you on Earth, you inside of a separate realm from, the sun and the moon. Like, all you got to do next time, man, when you go outside and they predict, for fake, because they don't predict that shit. They know when they going to create one. But when they predict the whole, like, blood moon situation, just go outside and check it out. They say that it's supposed to be like 93,000, blah, blah, whatever, miles from the moon, Earth and shit. They also say that the sun is in outer space and it's 3 motherfucking planets away from us. A bunch of bullshit, right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, bro, like, wouldn't outer space be daytime? Boom. If the motherfucking sun is in outer space and then it's 3 planets away from us, those other planets will block the sun as it so-called rotates around those other planets. And the same bullshit theories that they taught us in school, how like the moon goes in front of the sun and it causes a eclipse. The same thing will happen with those other two planets that's in front of the sun before our planet shows up, right? So it will always be constant eclipses on top of it being daytime at all times because the sun is in outer space, right? It's crazy how they be teaching these wild ass theories. But if you connect it to the Most High, your common sense is supposed to kick in. And you're supposed to notice these things and pay attention to this shit. But nobody seems to. And that right there is your receipt that when people was coming up with the NPC theories and non-player character situations up in society, man, that shit real. Because anybody who's connected, that shit would have stood out to them a long time ago. That and the technology. Like straight up, right? And then look at this, man. So look, the sun, when you see it, I mean, you can't really look at it, but when you see this shit, bro, like you could tell it's in its own dimension. And according to certain texts and stuff, we got like at least 12 or 13 dimensions. The same way they showed us in, science books when we was in school, how we got different atmospheres, levels and shit. That's how the dimensions work. So next time you look out there, you'll see it. When you see the blood moon and you look at the sun, or, you see these motherfuckers is in their own separate dimension, the sun and the moon. But if you see the blood moon, it look like you can climb up on that motherfucker and get near the moon. But it's supposed to be all these miles away, right? And then somehow the moon can go right in front of the sun and eclipse it. But for whatever reason, right, those other planets don't eclipse the sun ever. So that right there should have been let y'all know, this shit right here. That's a part of the simulation. That's a part of the matrix right there, man. Period. Just those couple of ideas. And then you gotta look at this, man. When they created civilization and put buildings in that bitch, the concept of buildings also have not changed since the beginning of when they created buildings the way they build them now. So everything else is upgrading, updating, going into the future. But buildings stay the same. Only thing that probably changed is like the interior, the comfortability of the interior. Maybe how they insulate that shit. They probably add more electric plugs. They probably got, internet in that motherfucker now. But the basic concept of plaster, bricks, insulation, and how they build it on top of the land. It got a fucking triangle at the top type shit. Still the same. See what I mean? But anyway, if you subscribe to the whole idea of like not coming back in this bitch, it's gonna be a task, man, because you gotta realize if you have not participated in any type of astral traveling or outer body experiences, then you won't be able to see that there's like multiple parallel dimensions where you exist on each one of those simultaneously. And from what I was able to count when I've done this myself, it's about 9 of them motherfuckers. And each one of them, you exist slightly different, but you still the same type shit. Apparently, you know, when we come here, somehow we get fractured, and then just like when you shine a light through a prism, we get fractured, and then each one of those rays sends a piece of your spirit or your soul to each one of them dimensions and shit. And I guess a woman in each one gets pregnant with your ass. And then you born literally the same time in all 9 of them motherfuckers. Whenever you get the chance to or figure out how to do it, you know, see your other selves, you'll be able to like reunite your spirit with at least one of them motherfucking parallel dimensions. And then you'll be able to experience yourself in that time. Like until it's time for you to go back and wake up. That shit wild. So then we got that working against us on top of being inside of this little bubble right here. And then another one that you gotta worry about that probably hold you back. You know, you gotta try to remember all this shit. So if you die on one of these motherfuckers and you know you got 8 more parallel dimensions where you still alive at, which I highly doubt, but let's say that that did happen. When you learn all this shit that I helped you learn here in this one and shit, and then you go to those other ones, you gotta try to like save that shit in your spirit and your soul like a memory card in an old ass PlayStation game. So then all you will be able to recall your memories if your spirit decide to like hop in another one of them dimensions and shit. And then as each one of your bodies die, then your soul or your spirit becomes one. And then you get to turn into that thing they call the Merkaba. And that's a ball of light. That's basically a ball of light. Then you gotta open up a wormhole and get the fuck out of this raggedy ass bubble that we in, you know. Because on each one of the other dimensions, it's all the same. It's still the same type of Earth situation. The sun and the moon is in their own separate dimensions, and they being holographically projected into this. That's why if you go outside in the, you know, in the cosmos and outer space, you can't see the sun and the moon up there nowhere. You can't, but you can see it being projected through somehow in another dimension. And that's why, like, if you were to try to like be in a vehicle of some sort, like an airplane or some shit, and you try to like fly towards the moon, it look like it come down to Earth during the blood moon. You can't get to it because somehow it's being projected. So you gotta do the same thing when you finally get collected to you stop being fractured as light and you become one ball of light and become the Merkaba, which is basically like a light spaceship type shit. Get to open up a wormhole, get out this realm, and then you gotta remember there's like 12 to 13 more realms. That's why 13 is the magic number. Because apparently we 13 uh, feet deep under light, or whatever you want to call it. Like it's 13 realms we gotta get the fuck out of blue. And then we can get back to the true light realm and shit. I don't really discuss that, but nobody really got no details on it. But here you go. I gave them to you. Some people was able to discover this shit like with mushrooms or ayahuasca, maybe even DMT. I ain't tried none of that shit, but some people even discovered it with acid and shit. I tried an alcohol called Crystal Palace Gin, and then I talked to my higher self, and then the Crystal Palace Gin activated with my higher self, and I was able to catch all this shit one time. So, Crystal Palace Gin, you could get that shit at any alcohol place, man, if they got it in your city, man. Anyway, peace.